Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm just going to talk a little bit about life after the death of a child. Many of you who have been following me for the past 2.5, going on 3 years, know that I lost my son Jeremy in a car crash in 1997 when he was only 19 years old. And you've heard me talk about him a few times. Although it is very rare, it's not a pleasant subject to discuss, so it's really not anything that I spend a whole lot of time talking about. You know, it has been a long time now, so 23 years. I mean, it seems impossible that I was able to live 23 years without my son Jeremy, and it hasn't been easy. I have to admit, it has been very difficult. You know, the loss of a child is the worst trauma that any human being can experience. And I just want to tell all of my sweet followers out there who have lost children. Many of you have emailed me and left me comments and told me about how you lost your son or your daughter and how devastating and how tragic it was for you and your family. And I want you to know how very sorry I am, and how my heart really bleeds for the pain and agony that you've had to endure. You know, trying to pick up the pieces and put one foot in front of the other and move ahead and continue to live your life. Now, when Jeremy was killed, Jason was older. He was already out of the house and on his own. So I really didn't have Jason to have to care for each and every day, but I still had Jill at home. Jill had just celebrated her 16th birthday with Jeremy and with the family. I had baked her a cake, and we had a nice birthday party for her. And Jill was really relying on Jeremy for a lot of things because she and her father and I had divorced in 1991. So Jeremy was kind of her big brother and her mentor, and he took care of her. He loved her more than anything, and she really, really looked up to him and loved him also. So it was a tremendous loss, not only to me, but to Jill and to Jason, to lose their brother Jeremy. But I just want to try to talk a little bit about it and maybe explain to you how I felt immediately after his death and how I eventually worked my way out of the grief and the anger and the depression. Immediately after I got the news of his death, I went into shock. I was at my sister Bobby's house in Mississippi. So it was after midnight when I got the telephone call from the chaplain from Orlando Regional Hospital telling me that my son had been killed in a car crash. And of course I didn't sleep all night. We called my oldest sister Angela, who was living in Florida. And so my sister Bobby and I had to make arrangements to fly out of New Orleans International Airport back down to Orlando. So we spent all night just trying to figure out, you know, how were we going to navigate our way back to Orlando. So we were able to make flight arrangements, and my brother-in-law took us to the airport. And I remember getting on the airplane, and it was my sister, and I was in the middle, and then there was a man next to me against the window. And, you know, I didn't say much, but my sister was kind of talking to him around me. And he was a pastor. He was on his way to some type of religious convention. So we had prayer there on the plane. And but the thing that I remember about being on that plane was my head was just about to burst. I mean, I never had a headache like that before in my life or since. I guess it was my blood pressure, just probably 200 or higher. I have no idea, but it was just throbbing, excruciating pain in my head, and I couldn't think, I couldn't function. My sister Bobby had to actually just kind of take over my life. You know, I had to be told when to eat. when to lay down and rest, when to get up, when to take a shower, when to get dressed, what to do, where to go. My oldest sister Angela was living down in South Florida, and she and her husband came up to Kissimmee, and they went with me to the store to pick out the tie for Jeremy. He had a suit in the closet, so that was no problem, getting his suit for him to wear. But I did need to buy a new tie for him, and that was when we went into the clothing store there on Main Street in Kissimmee, and we walked in, and there was a man there that came up to us and asked if he could help us, and my sister told him while we were there to get a tie for my son who had been killed in a car crash. And he just grabbed his heart and just had to sit down, and he said, "Oh my God," he said, "your son saved my son's life." His son Grant was sitting in the middle right next to Jeremy, and because Jeremy took the impact of the crash, Grant survived it. So that was so odd, that had happened that way. So we got the tie, and then we went to the funeral home and made all the arrangements and everything. And so then John was remarried to Judy at that time, and they were living in Charlotte, North Carolina. So John and Judy drove over to Kissimmee, and they came for the funeral. And there were a lot of people there. I mean, Jeremy was a junior at Valencia Community College, so a lot of his friends had come to the funeral. And a girl that he had been friends with, I think she was his first little girlfriend when we lived in Belleville, Illinois. Her name was Kathy, and she flew in from Illinois to attend the funeral also. And seeing her look at Jeremy in the casket and the hurt and pain, that really just broke my heart too. So I just want y'all out there to know that I understand the pain and the hurt, and I understand that it never goes away. It does get less, it does get a little bit easier. Time does ease the pain a little bit. And then just getting busy with life and going on with life, and trying to focus on your other children and their children, and putting all of your love and effort into making their lives better, and helping them to get through the loss of their sibling. That's a very difficult and hurtful thing for them to have to deal with also. Luckily, this does not happen very often. I think the statistics for 2018 were around 10,000 deaths of children ages 1 through 14. So it is not a common occurrence. And thank goodness that there are not too many of us who have to go through this horrible tragedy in life. Now the mourning process is grueling. It's long, it's difficult, it hurts. And it can destroy your health, not only your mental health, but also your physical health. I know I had panic attacks, anxiety attacks, heart palpitations. I had stomach problems, gastric acid reflux. I couldn't eat, I couldn't hold my food down. And this lasted for longer than a year or two. I mean, it was just ongoing, and it would ease up. I would go to therapy, see a psychiatrist, get on medicine, see a psychologist, and do all the things that I was supposed to be doing to help myself to get better. But I mean, you just can't. Your body has to grieve, and you have to go through the pain. There's no way around it. You just have to lean into it and let it manifest itself. And you have to scream and cry and beat something and throw things, and just like you'll be in the grocery store and walking down the aisle and come across your child's favorite cereal, and you'll just break down right there in the grocery store. Or if I would walk through a department store, through the fragrance section or the men's cologne, and smell Jeremy's favorite cologne, that would just bring on this hysterical crying and depression and just being so upset. But another thing that was difficult was this question that I was asked, and that I am still asked today. Oh, how many children do you have? You know, how do you answer that? In the beginning, I thought, well, I had to say that I have 3 children, and then I had to explain, oh, but only 2 are still living. 1 child was killed by a drunk driver. And, I finally just got tired of being so truthful about it. And so I started just saying, oh, I have 3 children. And oftentimes people won't go on to, inquire about, well, how old are they? Where are they now? What are they doing now? So I learned that I could just keep it simple and just answer it by saying, oh, I have 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. So that's the answer that I give now. I don't go into detail about losing one of my children. Also, you think about what could have been. Jeremy was brilliant. His IQ was 155. When he was 7 years old, and the teachers at Covington Elementary saw his IQ, they immediately took him out of regular class and put him into the gifted program. Well, Jeremy didn't like that, because Jeremy wanted to be equal and be the same as his schoolmates. But he was put into the gifted classes, but even though he didn't care for them too much, but he just needed to be. He was just too smart to be in the regular classes. So I often think about, what could have been. Would Jeremy's life have been like? Would he have gone on to become a scientist? Maybe he could have found a cure for cancer, or even a vaccine for the COVID-19 if he were still alive today. So it's those things that I do think about, and it does create a little pain in my stomach and pain in my heart. But I just have to let go and let God. That's an AA saying that is so relevant to me and to everyone, really. It's good to remember to say in any aspect of our lives, no matter what we're going through, what we have been through, or what we have to go through in the future. Just let go and let God. So that's just my little message for today. I just wanted to talk about Jeremy today. I'm just missing him and loving him so much. I also love my children, Jill and Jason, and all my grandchildren, and my life is good today, and my life is even better because of you. Thank you so much for being here and being my sweet friends and standing by me and giving me support and love. I just love you so much. Y'all, please, if you're just passing through, don't forget to subscribe. All you have to do is just touch that little red button right there. It doesn't cost a thing. And y'all just keep on coming back. Bye, guys.